All right, good morning. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard on this holiday week. Hope you're having a great holiday season and being safe, enjoying your time, and great to have you aboard. Thanks for carving some time out to be with us here this morning. Market here this morning set to open up slightly higher. Stock futures up about 2 points here. Nothing major. Nasdaq futures up slightly, Dow futures up slightly. Really a very soft news cycle out there. We kind of look down the various news wires. There's just not a whole lot. There are a few things worth noting, but in general, it's probably going to be a lighter volume day. Kind of keep it with the tradition of the week and the way that it's been. Doesn't mean that individual stocks can't move, but they tend to need a catalyst. The thing about light volume weeks or light volume trading days is we tend not to see signal changes, meaning we're not going to see things go from in in the most part, we're not going to see things go from bullish signals to bearish signals or bearish signals to bullish signals. Things are going to follow their course. Couple things going on. Let's talk about Boeing. Boeing here yesterday, nice move up, about a buck, about 1% higher, piercing the upper band. We talked about Boeing yesterday. Yesterday, that'd be really nice to see this thing kind of gap up into the 138.60 area and kind of run up into the 140 area here tomorrow or today. And so far, so good. Boeing set to gap up slightly. We'll see how it plays out, but we'd like to see this thing move up into the 140 area. Uh, we're still looking at potentially pulling some Boeing off and rotating it into Tesoro. And there's obviously nothing bearish about Tesoro, but in the moment here, Boeing's chart continues to be more bullish than Tesoro overall, and so we're going to continue to ride here with Boeing. Boeing has a union vote coming up here on the 3rd, and a lot of that has to do with whether Boeing is going to continue to produce some of their jets in the state of Washington or move some of that to another state. It would be a pretty big blow to the economy of the state of Washington if Boeing moves some of its operations. So there's a battle kind of raging there. It's not something that is a big deal in regards to the financials or in regards to the order flow that is coming into Boeing, but it is something that could have an effect on the stock price. And what it sounds like to me is one of those things where once it's behind Boeing, may actually be more of a positive catalyst than a negative catalyst. Okay. Chesapeake, no real indication on the open here this morning. It really kind of rallied hard in the last little bit yesterday. Went from down 40 cents to up 11 cents at the close. Nice little rally. No indication here this morning. Would take a lot to really give any sort of sign that, hey, Chesapeake's ready to roll over or it's not going up any higher. Likely no real changes there. Nucor set to gap up just slightly here this morning, continuing in its trend rider and its vibe bull signals. Okay, so as far as what's going on and what's happening, just not a whole lot with our positions now. One of the things that happened last night, in fact, let me pull it up here on Thinkorswim here, but a lot of action in the euro dollar currency. Okay, in fact, we could see yesterday late afternoon down here below, and overnight as we hit midnight Mountain Time, the euro rising strongly against the dollar surges has fallen back. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold here, and I apologize for a few pauses. But euro falling back just a little bit, okay, and coming back into about the 138, but still up big relative to yesterday. Why is this happening? Well, a lot of the news wires are really, really quiet. There's no major economic news. There's no major geopolitical action that's going on that would typically create such a movement in the euro dollar. Much of this is technical in regards to, hey, this is a firm or a group of firms that are uh, some central banks that are creating this type of action here in the euro. And what that does, if we bring up the euro chart, the FXE here is set to gap up over 136, and the FXE has been creating a rather bullish pattern overall. A move over 136, 136 and a half would confirm, hey, it's ready to move. And vice versa gives us a continued breakdown in the value of the dollar, where the US dollar starts to pierce its lower bands. It's been on a strong downward trend, that downward trend continuing here for the US dollar. And, so some interesting action from a currency standpoint. The weakness in the dollar is sending the Aussie dollar up slightly, which should be a positive for our Nucor position overall. Okay, but the euro itself, that's a really big move. Now, it's been talked about that the rising euro would threaten the economy of Europe. But in essence, what we have seen is a rising euro has been more of a symptom of an improving global economy. And over the last 5 years, even a little bit longer, as the euro's gone up and the dollar's gone down, that's generally been a sign of economic strength around the world, and we're seeing that. And the euro itself is poised to close near some of its highest levels that it's seen since 2011, when manufacturing was getting some of its strongest boosts around the world. So that's kind of some of the stuff we're seeing here this morning. Uh, on a lesser note, the shippers. Okay, the shippers are up big here again today. We've been talking a little bit about dry ships, talking about this move here on it. It's continuing here this morning. Free Seas, FREE, very big move yesterday to the upside, up almost 57%, and up big again here this morning. In some ways, these are lottery tickets, but these are also heavily shorted stocks. Where they start to move up, the shorts start to pile out, and they can move very aggressively. If you take a look at something like Free, back in the shipping boom, look at the prices here on Free. Now, obviously, this stock has had a few inverse stock splits. It really wasn't trading up at $2,000. But in essence, back in its heyday, about $2,000 on Free, and now trading well below, well below $3 overall. So, very, very bullish action going on as the Baltic Dry Index continues to improve, continues to move higher and pushed up. The Baltic Dry Index measures shipping rates around the world. Generally, these shipping rates are inelastic, as it's tough to build brand new big ships to increase the supply of ships. And so, the movement in the Baltic Dry Index can be quite aggressive. And, there are a lot of these shipper stocks, Eagle being one of them. Eagle went up and hit $8 earlier this year. Now trading down at $4 and starting to fly higher. They can be very fun. The options are kind of ridiculously aggressive, but there's a lot of bullishness going on here. Okay. Yeah, the shippers move of the day. I know you're in, but what about options on SB? Yeah, as the market opens up here, take a look here. Most of these shippers, their options are pretty insane as far as the implied volatilities. SB is one of the lower implied volatilities, but the spread on it's pretty high. You're talking about a 10, 15 cent spread here on these stocks. SB here, if you kind of look at it overall, continuing to push. It's been an outperformer within the group. Again, I like the group. If you're going to play them, you're playing it with some sort of all or nothing type position. So I would look at buying some sort of January 10 call, seeing if I could split that spread and just kind of holding that. Really, you get some pretty decent value here on that January 10 call here on SB. If that thing kind of continues to fly, I don't think SB will fly like some of the others on a percentage standpoint, but again, kind of that same same type of play here. All right, so market's opening up. We see Boeing up about 50 cents here. Up in that one, up a little bit above that 138.60 area that we talked about yesterday. That's kind of what we want to see here this morning. Chesapeake down just slightly, down about 3 cents. No real action. Nucor up about 14 cents, continuing its bullish trend. Okay. Overall here, we see we looked here at Qualcomm yesterday, talked about some of the bullishness building here in Qualcomm. Qualcomm continuing its move here today. A push above 74 would kind of be a little more confirmation that it's ready to move, that it's ready for that breakout into the $76 to $78 area. With the euro strengthening overnight, thank you, Darren. German government did talk a little bit about the value of the euro, but nothing different than what they've been saying for the last couple years. But yes, that's a small catalyst for the euro. But it's helped to push oil higher. The USO pushing back up, getting closer up here into the 36 area right here. If you take a look at Brent crude is actually a more bullish chart as it's consolidating near the highs. And all set for a very nice breakout as we head into the new year here for Brent. So some of the things that are going on here in the market, it's not a whole lot. You look down across the board here. Most everything is pretty flat, slightly up, slightly down. Twitter. Okay, Twitter had a lot of action on it yesterday. That has continued in the pre-market here today as Twitter was downgraded. The downgrade was a little dubious. They talked about how great Twitter was long term, but how overvalued it was short term. And really, that's the battle with Twitter is what's the overall valuation. And the bears say, hey, you know what? Twitter valuations here are absolutely ridiculous. The bulls say, well, yeah, maybe, but with some of the future growth, it warrants a high stock price. So that's kind of the battle going on. For me, it's more a day trader than anything to mess with options that you're looking to hold for a week or two. Okay. All right. Now I promised to look at WPCS this morning, and this is a stock that for most people wasn't on their radar. Most people really hadn't even heard of it, myself included. WPCS is involved in the whole Bitcoin phenomena, which continues to grow, and up about 100% here today, as it was announced that they were going to host a trading platform for Bitcoin. What does that mean? Well, for WPCS, it had its earnings, big drop here. Now big gap up. You're creating technically a bear trap that basically tends to go higher. It's very positive news, but in general, nobody really knows how to value this stock or what type of valuation to put on it. So it does become a little bit of a gamble. But for those of you kind of into this whole Bitcoin phenomena and kind of like following it, it's a very nice way to play it without having to go out and actually trade Bitcoin itself. You can play the underlying platform or one of the newer platforms coming out with WPCS. Again, I don't think this is something that is even optionable. I did not double check. Let me check, but I don't believe, no options here on it. So it is a stock play if you're going to look at WPCS, but I would look at it as kind of an all or nothing. I just put in what you're willing to lose. You may get a rally up into the $12 to $20 range. That may be feasible over the coming year as the Bitcoin trading continues to grow. But again, you also may see this thing go belly up if the U.S. government comes in and says, "Hey, you know what? No virtual currency is going to compete with the U.S. dollar." So, that's kind of one of the risks there. Okay. Yeah, Darren, ADSK has been on a nice move, continuing its march higher. Lighter volumes, continuing to push up to 50. Obviously nothing bearish here. And you've been all over that. Very nice, very nice. Okay. Yeah, Baidu, nice little rebound higher here today after some of the low volume drag yesterday and the day before. So pushing back up, kind of with the rest of the sector. Kihu in a consolidation. Sohu, tried to break out low volume, snap back yesterday, but really more of a consolidation, and Cena kind of in that same area. So, overall they're all kind of doing the same thing with this consolidation. In general, I look at these, they had their opportunity to break down and they didn't. They are showing bullish consolidations now. Chances are that we do see them break up and break higher. It's just more of a matter of time and when that looks to happen. Okay. Some of the refiners, Western Refining down slightly here today. Nothing major, right? I mean, it had its breakout. Now low volume, really a bullish consolidation overall. Valero, very similar. And Tesoro, very, very similar here. Okay. Tesoro tried to break out above 58.5 yesterday. We looked at pulling some Boeing and getting into Tesoro, but right now it's not. There's not enough volume. There's not enough interest to really shoot it higher. There's nothing bearish here with Tesoro, Mike. You could see Tesoro go back down another 50 cents, even $1 from this point, even down to the lower band on the hourly chart. But it's any 40-cent move here, very insignificant for Tesoro. Uh, we will definitely look at rotating some Boeing into it, but at this point it may not be till next week, may not be till the new year as we need some sort of catalyst there. Okay. Um, yeah, Max, Apple. You've kind of been all over that as far as the Friday weakness. Apple a little bit weak here this morning, as well here. Okay, but look, nothing, no major signal changes kind of going on throughout the market and throughout the various stocks out there. Our positions, let's take a quick look at those here. Boeing, about 25 cents here. Just nothing significant. 25 cents is kind of what it moved down into the close yesterday, and that's what it's up here today. Just very insignificant price action, not changing anything. Nucor's getting a nice little lift here as the dollar weakens, as the Aussie strengthens a little bit. That's giving a nice little lift here to Nucor, up about 1%, and Chesapeake down about 8 cents, and kind of hitting this 27.60 area again. It would be really nice to see it pull back maybe a little below 27.60 and then mount a little charge, break up into the 27.80 area by the end of the day here. Okay. Can the markets move today, or are they going to be pretty much like what they've been the rest of the week? Most of the week here, it's been slight move higher in the morning and then just grind higher throughout the rest of the day, and a slight sell off into the close. I don't expect much different here today because of the a little bit more overbought nature of the market right now. Yeah, there could be a 7 to 8 point sell off into the close today as we head into the weekend. And that would be really driven by maybe some tax selling or kind of some, hey, those fund managers who are pretty much going to be off next week or we're not going to kind of be participating next week, throwing some sells out there to exit some positions for the year end. So we may see some of that overall here. Okay. Alrighty, well, thanks for hopping on here. Any questions, please let us know. John will be on chat here with you throughout the day. I'll be back on video here. At 10 o'clock Mountain, 12 o'clock Eastern. We'll take technical analysis and break it down a little bit further with support and resistance and its various factors overall. So we will be doing that. We'll be doing that here a little bit later this afternoon. Other than that, as far as kind of things to keep an eye on for plays, one way or the other, upside or downside. Qualcomm is trying to break that 74, trying to give some of that confirmation. Okay, Bank of America is one that the price action on it's setting up very nicely here. As far as its flat consolidation, to have just one of those boosts to push it back up above 16. I like building into a little bit of Bank of America right here, and something like even something like Exxon that's breaking 100 here. 100 has been a lot of people's price target on Exxon. It's now breaking that $100 mark. Uh, if we start to see any major big volume come in, it may catalyze a short-term pullback where you're able to play this thing back down to 100 for those of you looking, from a put side. That may set up here today with the way things are starting to play out. Yeah, trade on Halliburton here. Nothing really significant in today's action. Pretty flat overall. This type of chart tends to hit the upper Bollinger. Okay, tends to hit the upper Bollinger, that 52 mark. That's about what I would expect to see here with Halliburton. Okay. Yes, support and resistance at noon Eastern time, 10 o'clock Mountain is when we'll talk about that. And again, I realize many of many of us or many of you are out and not really around this week, so that will be recorded and that will be posted in the trade library. Okay. Yeah, go here. Look, this was an IPO this year, and I have to admit, not really a stock that I've done a lot of research on as far as following. I don't know how significant the 50-day moving average really is going to be. Is it bouncing because it hit the 50-day moving average, or is it bouncing because of kind of an oversold nature where it pulled back pretty much 33%, and now bouncing here. Uh, Still a little early to kind of bring in some of the longer term technicals with GoGo. I would really kind of focus more on some of the hourly charts and some of the 15-minute charts rather than the daily charts, given the relative newness of the stock. That all said, some good volume on this upsurge here. Your risk is now you're starting to get into a gap down type of an area here. Okay. Let's go take a look at Boeing real quick here. Boeing is reversed and gone, after being up about 60 cents, gone negative. And here I have the hourly chart. Let me just kind of address this. It's not anything that's overly significant. coming back here to the 138 area to see this type of action on a day like today, just not entirely uncommon. Would we love to see it have gapped up and start to run to the upside? Sure. Obviously not happening just yet, but not a bearish sign overall here for Boeing to see this minor reversal here this morning. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for hopping on, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.